When you talk about portal needs for Texas A&M, it starts with the wide receiver position. You could talk about D-line, but wide receiver is right up there. After all the players you lost, and quite frankly, the lack of production you had from the room this year. And there's a discussion to be had about that. Was that because of quarterback deficiencies, inability to find open receivers? Was it due to play design, a lack of an effort to get playmakers the ball in their hands? Well, whatever the answer there is, it's undeniable that you need ready-now bodies in this room after losing Ja'Day Walker, Moose Muhammad, Jabri Barber, and Cyrus Allen this offseason. And you go into next season with a scary lack of production and experience going into the 2025 season. You bring back Noah Thomas, you bring back Terry Bussey. That is the extent of wide receiver experience you bring into the room. So today, let's talk about the room, maybe talk about some of the young talent that's in the room that is often forgotten. You do have some young pieces in there, and that really got bolstered this last 2025 recruiting cycle. And there were some there before that we need to talk about, in Ernest Campbell and Isaiah Williams. And then we're going to have to look at the portal here, because you can't go into next season solely relying on young bucks to carry you across the finish line. You're going to have to find ready-now talent. I don't care if they have 1, 2, or 3 years of eligibility left. You need some players that are ready now. Because as much hope as you have for some of these young guys, you can't just take that gamble and hope they're ready next year. And maybe they will be. Maybe they'll ramp up and become ready. But not in game 1, not in game 2, and not game 3 at Notre Dame. That is a huge risk. And we're obviously exploring the portal for a bunch of guys. And there's a bunch of smoke about guys that A&M is currently in the hunt for. So let's talk about that all today. Thanks for being here. Like and subscribe. I'm going to keep putting out these updates. Keep in mind, guys, I'm not an insider. I react to information that we gain from the insiders. Look to your 247 Sports. Look to your Texags. Look to your rivals. Look at all the news stations. Get your up-to-date info there, and then come back here. We'll break everything down and look at the roster as a whole. So thank you guys for being here. Let's look at the room as it currently stands. I just wrote the names down right here real quick. Noah Thomas, Terry Bussey. Like I said, those are your two experienced guys coming back next year. And with Terry Bussey, there's a lot of things this team can do with the kid, depending on what they feel like they need. They need to move him to DB, they can do that. They need to keep him at receiver, they can do that. He can be kind of a gadget guy on offense. We saw him in the Wildcat down the tail end of the year. We've seen him get handoffs, him do a lot of things. And I think there's reason to believe they're going to keep him in that position next year due to sheer need and sheer bodies and need of experience in the room. So you have those two guys coming back. Now, Ashton Bethel-Roman, Jacob Bostic, Isaiah Williams, those seem to be the next three guys in that rotation if someone were to get hurt last year. Those are guys that seem to be waiting in the wings for opportunity, and they're going to have a chance to make a name for themselves. Bethel-Roman, a quicker slot build. We saw him in the New Mexico State game. Bostic, the transfer out of Iowa State. Pretty good size on this guy. I would say pretty unproven. I think he didn't really get his career going at Iowa State, due to injury. Isaiah Williams, a true freshman with a lot of potential. And then Ernest Campbell, another small, undersized true freshman. Kind of what A&M needs right now, an explosive talent, a guy that can make things happen with the ball in his hand. But his last measurement coming out of high school was 145 pounds. So he needed to put on weight, not ready to play this year. And who knows if he'll be ready next year. Those are kind of your young guys in the room that you have coming back. And then this offseason cycle, obviously, that's going to be highlighted by Jerome Miles, the 5-star out of Utah, flipped from USC, all the talent, all the ability in the world. You have Kelshawn Johnson and Tristan Norman also coming in as freshmen. Who knows if any of those guys can make an early impact? I think there's reason to believe Jerome Miles can make some sort of an impact within his first season. But he is coming off of an injury, so I would say don't get your expectations too high. But it's okay to keep hopes pretty high there because he does have the talent to be a day one impact guy if his injury trajectory allows for it. So obviously the room is really young. The real upperclassman, the only upperclassman in the room is Noah. And he's the one that comes in with extensive experience. And I think Noah Thomas is a really good receiver. I think whoever you add, there's a place for Noah Thomas in the starting lineup. So we're going to go ahead and say A&M needs to add 2 or 3 guys, probably 3 guys, 2 surefire contributors, and 1 guy that can kind of contend with these young guys, and then see how things shake out over spring, over fall camp, and see who can carve out a role. So what I'm going to do now is go into a few sources who have indicated that A&M is in the running for certain players. So we have about 4 players here that there's actually smoke that A&M is pursuing, and these players have mutual interest with A&M. Now, this doesn't mean any of these guys are a lock. It doesn't mean any of this is guaranteed or a surefire situation. There's just evidence to suggest that there's mutual interest between A&M and these players I'm about to list. And I'm going to try to give you multiple sources per player just to show you that, okay, there's really smoke here. And keep in mind, I'm not pulling anything from behind a paywall. This is all general information. Anybody can look this up. So make sure you guys check your sources when you're getting information. We got to give them all the credit in the world. We don't have this information without our sources. So thank you to everybody who does that. Let's start with one that I think has the most smoke so far. That's Micah Hudson. Set to visit A&M this week, and you can see several sources. Gig'em247, Ryan Broniger of Texags, Mike Roach of 247. A lot of reason to believe that this guy's on campus and this guy's shaking hands and talking to the A&M staff. Would be a huge player to get. Now, this is not a guy with experience. This is not a surefire day one ready-made player. But he does have a ton of potential, and he would really elevate kind of the ceiling of the receiver room. And probably a guy you want to add. Now, I have to suggest there is a little bit of risk with Micah Hudson, because in 1 year at Texas Tech, where he was before, as a 5-star freshman, he didn't make much of an impact. And that was largely due to a couple of knee surgeries he's had over the last couple of years. So there's been a little bit of a plateau in his development, but that's due to injury. He would have to overcome that. But in a room like this that's so barren and kind of begging for some talent at the top, I think it's a guy you would look to add, potentially. If the obviously the NIL price tag is a factor here, if you're not breaking the bank to get a guy that has a little bit of risk with it, I think you go for Micah Hudson. This guy comes in with speed, a decent size. He's 6 foot 195, and by reports, he has good strength for his size. He uses his size really well. He's the kind of guy this receiver room needs because, you know, we've seen some possession receivers in this room over the last few years, but what you really need are game changers, game breakers, guys that can make plays, and Micah Hudson is surely that. And this is the guy that we have the most certainty that there is an ongoing conversation with between A&M and the player. So look out for Micah Hudson. Obviously, he's a Texas-based guy. A&M recruited him before. Then we have Nick Anderson. I think he's a redshirt sophomore out of Oklahoma. Only has 1 full year of experience. And like Micah Hudson, dealing with some injuries. You can see several sources indicating there's a connection here. Will visit. Really, really productive 2023 season. 38 receptions, 800 yards, 21-yard average, just a big play threat. Kind of a big body. I think the A&M comp here, like kind of like a Mike Evans build, just a big, strong, I'll just say he's a buff dude. He's a big guy that tacklers can kind of fall off of as he's running and can run with the ball after the catch. He's visiting A&M, and this would be the exact kind of player you need, a big play threat. You need to stretch the field because we saw when Marcel Reed was out there, you couldn't hit on your deep shots. You didn't have a deep ball threat. Safeties crept up. They could really sell out for a running game, and you need this kind of player to make defenses stay on their heels. So it's really big that he's visiting. Again, comes with injury concern. Missed the entire 2024 season with a quad injury. Should be healthy by next year. I mean, we'll have to look out for more updates there. So another guy that you're in the running for, but also comes with a little bit of risk. So you have to be very careful with that NIL budget, bringing in a guy with risk. But we trust this coaching staff to do their due diligence. He should be on campus soon. So those are the 2 guys that have the most verified sources indicating the connection. The other couple of guys I'm going to mention tonight, there are loose connections. There are some sources, but I'm trying to bring you multiple sources per name. These have fewer sources indicating the connection, but we're going to go through them anyway because I think these are players that A&M is eyeing. And make no mistake, if there's a receiver name in the portal, A&M is at least doing their due diligence per body, but these are the ones with the most connections. All right. Mario Craver, freshman receiver out of Mississippi State. You know, he was used as a true freshman. Didn't have the most productive year, but for a true freshman, I think he had 17 receptions. Yeah, 17 receptions, 368 yards, 21.6 yard average and 3 touchdowns. Had a big catch against Texas on a double coverage situation. Was able to get a contested ball. You know, slot build, 5'10", 170, but a guy that has game-changing speed, quickness, twitch, a guy that you would love to add as a slot receiver into your room. And there are reports that there's a connection here, so look out for Mario Craver. Barry and Brown. Now, this one has much looser connections than any of the 3 we've mentioned, but from day one, the day he entered the portal, there has been smoke that A&M and him are connected. This is absolutely a game changer with the ball in his hand. He was a return guy for Kentucky, big play kind of a guy that can make people miss, a guy that A&M really needs because, like we said, you need playmakers on your team right now. So look out for this. Not too much smoke, just kind of a loose connection here. I think we have one more source here by AT. AT also threw a source out there. Here it is. Barry and Brown and Mario Craver set to visit College Station. Barry and Brown will be huge, man. This is the exact kind of playmaker you want in the program. I mean, a very, very hot market here. I think LSU is definitely in the running here. But, A&M is presenting something that a lot of programs can't as a reason to come to the school. And that's immediate starting prime time playing time as a go-to option, because we just looked at the room. Not a lot of go-to guys coming back. Just Noah Thomas and Bussy to a lower degree as far as experienced guys coming back. So you have that to pitch. That's going to be a tough battle. Less smoke on that one. And here's the big one that I really want. Kevin Concepcion. I mean, who wouldn't want this guy? Everybody wants this guy. I think Bama is right now the leader, if you would say there's a leader for this guy. Bust onto the scene as a true freshman. 71 receptions, 839 yards. Also used in the running game quite a bit. 41 carries, 320 yards, 7.8 average running the football. He even passed the football a few times per season. I get a little bit of Anaya Smith vibes from this guy. Just a really, really quick player, really, really agile, really smart with the ball in his hand, can do a lot of things, can just kind of break angles with his breakaway speed. Just a game changer that you see some of these high-flying offenses have on their team. Really tough market. A&M is set to host. There have been some conflicting reports on this one, so look out for your insiders on Kevin Concepcion. That would be a big one. So, guys, what's your wish list here? If it's me, I want that Concepcion piece. That's going to be a tough one to get. I want that Barry and Brown. And then if you can get Micah Hudson, if you can get Nick Anderson, we're going to take them, man. We're in no position to get picky. I know those come with risks. I know those come with injury histories. But you need a chance with some players right now. If you can add some playmakers with the ball in their hands, that would change this offense. That's exactly what this offense needed. Because you think about the team last year. You think about playmakers with the ball in their hand offensively. You were hoping that would be Reuben Owens. Didn't have him for the year. It ended up being Le'Veon Moss, and he had a great season until he unfortunately went down with injury. And beyond that, he had a lot of possession receivers. I would call Jabri a slot possession guy. Call Noah mostly like a red zone threat. Had some big plays on the year, but really more of a possession receiver. You need guys like Concepcion. Micah Hudson is that. Mario Craver could be that. Barry and Brown is absolutely that. Nick Anderson, deep ball threat. A lot of these guys are what you're looking for. And A&M is knocking on all of these doors. So, guys, once again, thank you to all of our insiders out there. Keep an eye on them. Whenever anything becomes public, we'll talk about it here. Again, we don't pull from behind paywalls. Give me your thoughts on the room. Give me your thoughts on where things should go. Thanks for watching. Like and sub if you haven't. I'll see you really soon. We'll go live Thursday night, give you guys a chance to call in, talk about the portal, talk about team needs, talk about the bowl game, talk about the college football playoff, maybe go Army, Navy, wherever you want to go, we'll talk about it Thursday night. Thanks, guys. Gig 'em.